Today we're heading north, way north. I'm joined by Jeff Williams of Team Snowflakes, who along with Mike Van Hoy will be racing a 20-foot tornado catamaran in the legendary Race to Alaska. A 700-mile engine-free test of endurance, seamanship, and creativity. We talk preparation, small boat strategy, human propulsion, and what it really takes to take on a race like this. Today we're talking to Jeff Williams. Jeff Williams is the first person that I know that's attempting to do the R2AK, or the Race to Alaska, really. So I'm very happy to have him. And probably the first question, Jeff, is for the listeners that may not know, what's the Race to Alaska?
Okay, it's on the inside passage of the West Coast. It starts in Port Townsend, Washington.
Right.
It makes a qualifying lap over to Victoria on Vancouver Island, which is about 40 miles. You need to complete that in 30 hours in order to qualify to complete the rest of the course, which is another approximately 700 miles up to Ketchikan, Alaska.
Right.
There's very little in the way of rules. The main one being there's no motors. So there's... it's sail or human power of some kind.
Exactly.
You get these boats.
It's fascinating. I've followed it for years. They're fascinating. Yeah, I think so. It's even at qualification sounds, it's not much, but it's open water, and there've been some pretty hairy qualification days. So,
well, not only that, it can really catch you. There's strong currents up there that can pull you up into the Gulf Islands, and I've seen fast boats that should have had no problem not make it.
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't want to underestimate any part of the course.
Right. So most people that I know look at this race and think that's kind of insane. So, but for you, it's something approachable. So tell me about your background and how does that make it something that's feasible for you and so on. What made you want to do this particular race, and what's your background, I guess?
Well, I've been sailing since before a teen, and
right.
And so that's always been something that's been part of my life. And in the last 10 years, I've been catamaran sailing and sort of getting back into it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I've been an ultra marathon runner and camping and so on. And I like the challenge of something takes a long time to complete. It's, a race around the buoys. You prepare for it, you sail it, and within, a couple of hours, the series is done and you've done well or you haven't. This one, you've got lots of chances to make up time, and you've got lots of chances to screw up and fall way behind. So it's a real long game. It's like playing chess.
Right. It's a real commitment too, right? It's
been years preparing for
exactly,
this.
Right? So you don't just whim this, I'm going to do this week. Yeah, no, you have to prepare years. And you've done other challenges, I believe, in Florida and so on. You want to tell me a bit about your background? For
part of the thing when I first learned about the race was, I knew it'd be hard and difficult. And though I'm a good sailor on the lake, I knew I needed more experience in long distance sailing. So I looked for an analog for the Race to Alaska, and the closest thing I could find was the Everglades Challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is 300 miles, approximately, from Tampa Bay, Florida, down to Key Largo.
Correct.
And even though it sounds like it's be much warmer there, I actually learned that you can actually get quite cold in Florida.
Is that right?
The first year I did it, it was a really cold year, and I learned a lot that time.
Nice. That's great. And let's talk about your your boat. It's I guess a Maelstrom Tornado, which is kind of a weapon, really, but it's still 20 feet and it's open. So what made you choose a Tornado for a 700-mile race? And what does, small and fast is great, but it's a wet boat. So what did that give you for that? Why did you choose this boat particularly?
It kind of matches my, philosophy with trail running and ultra running, in that, I used to go on hikes, and you'd hike all day and you might cover 10 or 20 miles. And, that's interesting. But once I really got into trail running, I found that, I can cover 50 miles and, eventually 100 miles. And it's wow. You get to see a lot more, if you're coming out of the same harbor every time and you have a slower boat, you see the same bit of coastline every time. But with, when you double the speed, you see a lot more, you can cover a lot more territory. Now for the race, my initial intention was a solo entry, and I was going to race what I had, which was an 18-foot catamaran, a Dart, same designer as a Tornado, actually.
Right.
And I thought, if people can do this on a kayak, I could definitely do this on a catamaran.
People have done it on SUP. It's amazing.
I know. That's the wild stories. But what I did find about the catamaran, and especially when I took it down to Florida, that, you can take that boat and, if a wave breaks and it washes over you, it washes over you. As long as your stuff's tied down and it's everything's secure, you're fine. It just goes through it, which is definitely not the comfortable way to sail, but it just works in big waves. It's meant for that. It's right. It's the people on board that have the challenge surviving it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really performance over comfort, really speed over comfort, and so on. Right.
Yeah, but it's also a safety factor. Like I can sleep on that boat and let my partner sail the boat, and I'm not worried about a gust knocking us over. We can handle the bigger winds and the waves. We can reef the sails down if we need to, but we can go fast and safe at the same time.
Right. You mentioned your partners, I did listen to the other podcast, for the Race to Alaska, and you two seem to be really well bound, and that's great. So I probably wanted to know how you chose a partner, how you became such a really good team, really, your husband and wife, and I don't know who the wife, but partners, really. You seem really well gelled and have complementary skills. So tell me how that happened, because that seems to be really, really good team.
Well, I started, I raced the Everglades Challenge twice solo.
Right.
And I kind of got to the point where, I could do this forever and learn something every time. But it's, for the amount of money I'm putting into it, the travel and everything, I'm not going to learn that much more from racing it. So the year I decided, no, I'm not doing it this year. My sailing wife, if you will.
That was a bad term. It's a really partner, right? But it just meant you guys gel so much. So
yeah. Oh yeah, we are, because we've sailed together so much. But yeah, that year his crew had to drop out at the last minute, and he was looking for a crew. So I still kind of missed going and seeing the people and doing the race. So when I saw he was looking for someone, I piped up and said, yeah, I'll give it a go. And we chatted on the phone a bit, and, he wasn't bragging about his abilities or how great he was. He just wanted to do the race and do it safely. And so that seemed like a good start, enough to go ahead and give it a try. And looking back on it, it's kind of a big risk doing a race like that with someone that you just met, but it really worked out. And since that time, we did another Everglades challenge, and we also have circled Georgian Bay twice with tornado catamarans.
Right.
And it's not just the distance; it's the sailing 3 hours on, 3 hours off constantly.
Right.
That you got to work stuff out.
Yeah, you have to trust your partner because you're sleeping, right? So you have that level of trust, right? So yes, that's great. So I understand you're kind of the jack of all trades, the MacGyver on the boat, and
yes, I am. Part of that came from working in my younger years for a canoe camp, like a summer camp that did canoe trips. So I spent a few years just guiding trips, Algonquin Park and Georgian Bay and that sort of thing. So I think that's background that really helped. And Mike didn't know it when I volunteered to crew with him the first time, but I was a sailmaker for a number of years. So that came in handy when his sail tore across.
Wow, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and, I've never had a new boat. It's always been fixer-uppers that I've sailed. So,
right.
Yeah, you learn that way.
It's great skills to have. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned you've done some, trial runs on Georgian Bay with the tornado and Mike.
Yeah, we.
How did that go?
We've actually never completed it. So the first time we didn't have the Marstrom. We just got that last year.
Oh, okay.
We didn't attend. It's not a boat that I could afford to buy. But the fellow who's been racing it at the Everglades Challenge, it was his last year for that boat. He was taking the carbon fiber mast off of it to put on a boat that he's building for the Race to Alaska. And he was selling it pretty cheap. So his friend came over, said, this is what we're selling it for. And I said, I'll take it. So our first Georgian Bay trip, I had an old fiberglass tornado, and prep was going not great, and I found a great deal on another tornado. So I do have a bit of a collection of them. It was an older wooden boat. It seemed like it was in great shape, but it turned out there was some rot and a leak that we didn't know about. So about 40 miles from completing the circumnavigation, middle of the night, we're really tired. Couldn't understand why I couldn't tack the boat. And I just said, Mike, I'm just really tired. I don't know what's going on. I'm just really tired. So we're working through it together. We're on our shift change. We're working through it together. And then Mike says, we have a water problem. So that's when we realized the one hull was
flooded,
almost awash. And we tried to pump it out, but our pump pulled stuff into the guts of it, and we couldn't pump it. We got to the point where we just had to close up the hatch, otherwise it would completely flood it. And so we called for a tow, and that was the end of that one.
Right.
And then the next year,
that was a good learning experience. To it's something you can definitely put to this.
Well, yeah. And the focus on going around Georgian Bay was testing our systems, testing our watch-keeping schedule, testing what happens when we get cold, what happens when we're really tired, what happens when there's no wind for a day. And so we learned that you need to know your boat really well. And so this past fall, we took the Marstrom and with old rigging. And I'd actually paid for new standing rigging, but we didn't have it yet. And I thought, okay, well, it's good for one more trip. And it wasn't. So we almost made it back to Penetanguishene this time. It was just after sunset. We were doing about 15, 16 knots. And I heard a bang, and the shroud broke. The fitting on the end of the shroud broke. And the mast went down, and of coincidentally, the hiking wing also broke at the same time. So as soon as I realized the mast fell down, I also found myself in the water, coughing up water.
Oops.
So, so we learned a few things. We learned new rigging standing rigging is essential for something like this.
Right.
And we also learned that the wing, the hiking wing, is thin wall aluminum. And the previous owner, I didn't realize he had a sort of a temporary shroud on that, or a shroud to sort of brace it. And we didn't have that on there. So we have some new systems built in for that. And obviously we have the new standing rigging installed now. So.
Let's talk about, about cold water, obviously, and going to Alaska is also cold water.
Yes.
You're Canadian, so you know cold water. Does that scare you about the course, or is that, what are the risks that you see in the course, not just cold water? Fatigue, maybe, or what are the risks that you see in this? How are you approaching this?
Well, there's a lot. I mean,
there's a lot, yeah.
Johnson Strait, you've got a wind funnel. So we could be looking at getting out there in, very strong winds, either ahead or behind.
Right. And,
that can increase the risks. That's a manageable risk. We can reef.
You have mitigations for that, right?
We can run and find a harbor.
Right.
So, getting caught in strong wind, definitely concerns me because, it can take a while to find shelter and we may have to run a ways.
Right.
The cold's definitely a hazard. And even on Georgian Bay, we learned about that.
Absolutely.
And I learned that in Florida. And it's not really cold at that time of year, but it's cold enough and it just wears away at you and you get splashed and you're not wet, you're in a dry suit, but that water sits on the dry suit and it evaporates by drawing the heat from your body to do that. So it just slowly drains it out of you. So we did learn along the way that high calorie, high carb diet and along with fats to sort of get you through is a really important thing. Without a cabin, without heat, you need to use your body as a heater and you need to use your gear as your cabin. So we've learned a lot about how to do that over a couple of years.
So no plans to stop and camp. You're just going right through basically.
We have a tent that we can set up on the trampoline, but we're not planning to use it unless we need to.
Right.
Now, 3 hours, 3 on, 3 hours off. If it's rough, you're not sleeping very much during those 3 hours, and then you're up again. You get tired enough, you do sleep through just about anything, but we found, if it's rough and you're going 3 days, you're exhausted. So. On Georgian Bay, when there was no wind and we both got to that stage, it was easy. We just lay down and went to sleep. And, our track at the top over by Tobermory is just this scribble around the map of us drifting around. And then when dawn came, the wind sprung up and we got going.
Yeah.
It's going to be trickier in Alaska. On Race to Alaska because there is strong tidal currents and there's commercial traffic. So we may not have the opportunity to just stop and wait. So, and I did find that with sailing a boat solo was a lot tougher because when the conditions got to be too much, you had to get into shore and, with less weight, less ability to point to windward, sometimes you're just stuck and you got to just keep pounding away at it. At least with the two of us, one of us can sort of get some rest while we make our way into shore and find somewhere to tie up or anchor.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be trickier out there with fighting currents and not have the ability just to, drop the sails and drift.
Right. Let's talk about those windless days, because you have another mode of propulsion too. So tell us about it. It's a Mirage.
Yeah, it's called a Mirage drive that Hobie made,
right?
And since then, there's a number of other manufacturers that build the original one,
mm-hmm.
and it's designed to go through the bottom of a pedal kayak. A trimaran,
correct,
was the original use for them, and it's two fins that sway back and forth by being through a chain and a linkage through two pedals. So you just push-pull.
Right.
And as the fins go back and forth, they flex and they feather, and they act like two propeller blades.
Yeah.
So it may not be the most efficient system for that boat, but it is very reliable. It really worked well, and just mounting anything on a boat that small with that much running rigging is tricky. So it works. It works well.
So you've tried it and it works.
Yeah.
Do you like
it?
Okay.
Yeah. It's, if we're really tired and we've had 2 days of no wind, we're probably going to stop and get 8 hours of rest.
Right.
But,
because you do hear a lot of people they're surprised they have to, or they have to pedal more than they thought they would. It happens you have those laws.
And I mean, that's the beauty of, a modern catamaran with the spinnaker too, is they can create their own wind. So if you have enough wind to get moving.
Your boat has got the advantage that it'll move in a whisper pretty much.
Yeah. And, it was really nice to, just have enough breeze to ripple the water. But with the spinnaker up, we were, doing 3-4 knots, which is faster than we can pedal that way.
So how do you prepare your body for something like this? It's probably the longest.
We both bike, but it's not a direct translation of muscle groups into that. So, we both bike, hike, jog, we're both keeping fit. Mike's more into the gym than I am, but I have the advantage of having the boat in the spring, and I can just take the boat out on the lake and use the pedal drive.
Yeah.
And train those specific muscles for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us about your general preparation. What do you have left to do? What are you doing? What's left to do? It's still a couple of months away, but I know this is the frenzy time.
It creeps up fast.
Yeah.
When we dismasted, we tore the mainsail quite a bit. It's repairable, but it's also an older laminate sail that's been through a lot. So we've ordered new sails. So we need to get that on and get the reefing system adapted to that sail to make sure that that's bulletproof and not giving us any problems. The halyard for the spinnaker wasn't the best setup, so I've got a new cleat to put on the mast itself for hoisting the spinnaker. I've got sorry, the cat is after me right now.
I heard it before. That's okay.
And the mast,
yeah.
It is pulling up some. It is leaking a little bit. So
okay.
When it was in the water, we did have water in the mast, so we need to seal it and pressure test it. And then we have some access hatches in the bottom of the in the rear deck of the hulls, but we're going to put some smaller ones further up just so that we can stash some water in the hulls themselves.
Right.
And let's see. I mean, it just keeps, the more I talk, the more I think of it. We do a graphite, epoxy graphite on the bottoms of the hulls.
Right.
And so there's nothing major to do.
Okay.
After our last trip, we redid the mount for the Hobie drive, so it's more solid and secure.
Right.
But, the more you look, the more small jobs you find. To get done.
Yeah, that's good. So you're, I guess, preparing a set of tools to have with you to fix it. Got to make sure. Is there anything you're afraid that you may not be able to fix? Is there anything like, okay, I know you think all these what ifs. Is there anything? What failure would actually end your race, you think?
I mean, even our dismasting, if it was raced to Alaska, I don't think it would have been the end for us.
Good.
We carry a lot of Dyneema line, and
that can replace any rigging. Absolutely.
That can replace anything. And, we would put the mast back up. Probably our biggest catastrophic kind of failure that we'd be looking at would be log strikes. And I understand we're going to have some spring tides again this year. So it's quite likely to be more logs than usual. So, and we're sailing at night. So there's a risk we're going to puncture a hull. We're going to carry a bag of post-hole foam from the building supply store. So, if we have a really big hole, we're just going to
get on shore,
mix up a big batch of foam and stuff it in there. And it's going to make a really big mess, but it will keep the water out and we'll keep going.
Right.
But
good thinking.
Yeah. The biggest failures that would put us out of the race would be, a really big rigging failure that we just can't recover the pieces.
It would have to be really big, since you says you have the Dyneema that can replace almost anything.
Yeah. Or, if we capsize in shallow water and we drag the mast through rocks, that could be a lot to recover from. But, there isn't, we're always going through the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And, the boat's so fast that, even if we have a jury rig, 6 knots is still good enough.
So you're planning to win that, your class pretty much. It sounds like it.
Yeah. Well, a small boat advisor has a 20 foot and under class.
So you're just in there. Yes.
Yeah. So, we don't have the resources to go after the $10,000 or the steak knives, but this, I think looking at the boats that are there so far, we've got some solid competition because they're more comfortable and the boats will take better care of their crew. But, so far from what I've seen, there's nothing faster.
Right.
In that size range.
Right. Oh, this should be fun. It'd be fun to follow you. Definitely. Since most of our listeners are not really racers, they're interested in it. What can they learn from your race or from a race like this?
There's a lot of development with this going on with the human power stuff.
Right.
And I think the development of pedal drives and getting the power from feet to propeller is really exciting for this small boat sailing. And I think there's really application for that to extend into all small boats.
Absolutely. You're right.
And also the gear. Like I said, we've replaced our cabin with gear and food, but a lot of that can be used on any boat. And gear is getting cheaper nowadays too. You can get a dry suit for $400. And
true.
It won't last as long as the $1,000 one, but
it'll save you on the bad days.
You can buy 3 of them for that will last the lifetime of the more expensive one.
Sure. Good point. Yeah, those are all good points. Absolutely. Does that make you a better cruiser? I don't know if you're a cruiser at all. Probably. It's all skills. Like you learn the same way. If you learn sailing by racing, you're a better cruiser the same way, right? So.
Yeah, well, racing forces you to take chances that you don't take when you're cruising.
Right.
And learning to pull that off, sailing at night, sailing against strong winds, sailing when the weather's bad. If you get used to doing that and you become proficient at that, then it's a choice you have when you're cruising.
Right.
So if you need to, you can.
Right.
But if you don't practice those skills and you haven't tested your boat in strong winds and with the second reef tied in, it's not a choice you have anymore when you're cruising, because that's not the time to pull those skills out.
Right. Good. Anything else we should cover?
I mean, the neat thing about the Everglades Challenge and the Race to Alaska is the camaraderie that goes around it as well. And you see that with cruising as well.
Yeah, you see that. That's right.
Yeah. And but it's a really great group of people doing this stuff. And, you know, everyone's kind of looking at things from a different perspective. You know, a lot of these people are, you know, they approach things differently from others. And so you see different techniques, you see different ideas being played out. And, you know, you can learn a lot from them. So it's a lot of fun it's just to be there. Being there at the start is, you know, incredible. And, you know, you're there with world-class sailors and, you're all hanging out, having, you know, at the beach chatting and, talking about stuff. And, you know, you'll talk to some of these guys after the race and they'll say, yeah, we saw you doing that. We knew that wasn't going to work. You'd already invested in it. So you're going to watch and see how that played out.
Right.
So, you know, everyone's helping each other out, and you're sort of, you're building on the skills and the techniques from the people that came before you. You know, the first Race to Alaska was nothing like the Race to Alaska is now. Same as the Everglades.
I remember it was really just a challenge, right? It was just, but now it's more refined, right? It's definitely, And
and it's because we've learned from those who've gone before us. And it's like you can reinvent the wheel and you can try new things, but you know, if you're smart, you kind of look at what the smart people are doing and learn from that.
Yeah. And about the camaraderie, I guess it's
camaraderie. Yeah,
camaraderie. It's really good. I mean, there's stories too of people getting into trouble and being saved by other teams. So that's really important to know that that's there. It's not your safety net, but it's good to know that, you know, there's somebody that can help you not terribly far around. So that's good to know too. First comfort you'll miss.
8 hours of sleep.
8 hours of sleep. First meal after finishing.
Oh, that will be.
You don't know what you'll miss until you're there, right?
Yeah, it's going to be something hot, and it's something that isn't freeze dried. I can tell you that much.
Exactly. Biggest fear.
Cold, tired, marginal conditions with nowhere to go. You know, being in a position where we need to find shelter, but we've let too many risk factors like fatigue and cold creep up on us before we have to make that move.
Right. And at the finish, have you thought beyond that, or the goal is have you thought beyond the finish? What is it going to instill in you, the lessons you will have learned, and what were you going to do next? You know, I guess it all depends.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, but I mean, it's, you know, I've sort of, it's given me the ability to do a lot more sailing in a lot more areas, and you know, one of the next goals is to go around Georgian Bay and not stop 20 miles short of the goal.
That's nice. It would be nice if there's been talk about a race to do something like that, set something up like that.
The first year we did it, we tried to sell it as an event with other people, but the problem is it's set as an 8 days or more kind of thing, and that's tough for people to have the time to do something like that. Absolutely. And 300 nautical miles around Georgian Bay it's a big time commitment. Mm-hmm. and getting crew and everything else can be really challenging. So we got lots of interest in it, but no one who could say, yeah, we'll see you there. So I'd like to find a way to make that happen in the future. I'm not sure how that's going to work out or what it would look like exactly. But it would be nice to have something a little closer to home that would be similar to this experience.
Well, it's been really fun talking to you, Jeff. Really enjoyed. And the name of your team, if I'm correct, is the Team Snowflake. Is that correct?
It is the Snowflakes, yes.
Right. Good luck. I'll be following you. And
thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Nano Cruising Podcast. You can find show notes, episodes, and more at nanocruising.com. A shout out to Luke Tanner and Martin Reuter. Martin's from Australia, and Luke Tanner's from Maine, for reaching out through fan mail. Yes, I do get them and read them, so thank you so much for your input and support. If you enjoyed the conversation, consider sharing the show with a friend who loves small boats and adventure. It really helps the podcast grow. And if you have a nano cruising story of your own, I'd love to hear it. Reach out through nanocruising.com. Until next time, seize your own adventure.
Just humming, no engine roar, just a little boat and an open shore, canvas snapping, the kettle's on, world feels big when the boat feels small. We don't need much, just wind and tide, a chart, a compass, and time to ride. For a harbor, stars for a roof, salt on the deck and stories for proof. From quiet creeks to a weathered bay, if it floats, we're on our way. No marina lights, no golden gate, just the pull of wind and the call to wait. Nano horizon, small boats, big seas, oars and sails, and blistered knees, simple gear, honest miles, every nod earned every smile. Nano horizon, no place to hide, just you, the boat, and the turning tide. Keel or dagger, lug or gaff, plans go wrong and we laugh. If you can tow it, if you can row, there's a long way left to go. Nano cruising, small boats, big seas, real adventure, no guarantees. If you've dreamed it, if you dare, there's a ramp somewhere out there.